Guys, I'm going to try to move through this as quickly as I can because I've already tried writing this prediction video the normal way like 3 or so times at this point, and I just keep going back and forth on what I want to say and how I think is best to say it. And after going through so many hours of trying to figure all this shit out, I have come to the conclusion that I cannot properly predict this episode in confidence because I straight up do not know what the contents of this fight are. Now, I'll still pick someone to vote for or to bet on by the end of this video, don't worry about that. And, you know, if you're deep into the community, you may already kind of know what I'm talking about, but let me explain in case there are some people out there who are kind of confused. Next time on Death Battle is obviously Frieza from Dragon Ball versus Megatron from Transformers. While we haven't seen Frieza himself on the show before, we have seen enough Dragon Ball to get a pretty good idea of what Death Battle is most likely going to do with his analysis, and that'll involve some specific scaling as well that I'll talk about a little later. And I'm pretty well 100% sure there's not going to be any Dragon Ball heroes involved. I feel like they would have specified if that was the case. That's the easy part. Megatron, on the other hand, is a lot more confusing. For one thing, it's been a long time since we've seen any Transformers character on Death Battle, but also, there are so many specific continuities, like individual continuities and timelines that exist within Transformers, that at face value, it's not super obvious what will or will not be included. The good news is we actually got some clarification. The bad news is, it's not very good clarification. At least 2 sources from the Death Battle team have stated that they will be using, and I quote, G1 Megatron. However, G1 Megatron could mean multiple things. It could mean that they're just using the Megatron that's found in the single standard G1 continuity, or it could mean that they're going to be pulling material from the entire G1 family, which would include the IDW comics, Marvel appearances, you know, possibly other supplementary material like other cartoons, and maybe even more. I will say that if they were just restricting Megatron to the single standard G1 continuity, then I think Frieza just destroys him. I don't think there's any scaling or feats or anything like that that could get Megatron up to Universal, even close to Universal, let alone many, many, many times that like Frieza. But, you know, because of that, and because they did use IDW material in Optimus Prime vs. Gundam, I'm not really thinking they're going to be going that route anyway. But then the problem is that that opens up another question. How much in this G1 family is actually being considered here? Because again, absolutely nothing specific was being broken down. Not even in the suggested media, which usually does exactly that, but it just says G1 Megatron. And it also doesn't help that it seems like not a lot of people can agree on how strong the IDW versions of these characters should be. I've seen some people place real heavy hitters like Megatron or Optimus at like high multi or multi-plus levels in IDW, but the best I've been able to find is Megatron being able to harm characters like D-Void and Shockwave, who were the embodiments of a dead universe and could threaten multiple universes at once, which is still really impressive, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's going to stack up to Frieza's scaling, considering that in his black form, he was able to one-shot Ultra Ego Vegeta, and we remember in Thor vs. Vegeta that they said that he'd be able to destroy nearly 300,000 universes. So maybe I could be missing some IDW feats, or maybe I'm even just misinterpreting the ones I brought up, but I'm not sure if IDW is going to close that gap as much as some people think. I'm not sure 100% if it would put Megatron on the same level as Frieza power-wise. Although he would still have his own advantages, like he would definitely have more combat experience, he might have greater processing speed, and he would certainly have the advantage in terms of hacks, particularly in the form of antimatter manipulation. And if Death Battle decides to use the G1 labeled manga material for Megatron, well, Megatron in that series has a feat where I believe he merges every single universe in an infinite multiverse together. It's something along those lines. And that's a kind of feat that I don't believe Frieza would be able to match just by highballing the multipliers, because you're not going to be able to reach a multiverse in its entirety just by multiplying how many individual universes you could destroy, you know what I mean? However, that kind of material, like that material aside from it just being labeled G1, does seem very distinct and very separate from a lot of the other G1 continuities, and Death Battle hasn't used it before in anything, although they could still use it for this one, you know, who knows. But on top of that, Megatron was in his golden form when he performed the this feat. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he lost that form. Like, he definitely, you know, took that power and made the gold matrix and all of that, but he then just got drained of it afterwards, didn't he? Like, maybe I'm getting something mixed up, but if that is true, then Death Battle doesn't typically include things for characters that they have very solidly lost. Although, you know, for one reason or another, if Death Battle thinks that it is reasonable or appropriate to use, then, you know, I could see them using it, especially since Frieza does have his own golden form as well, so, you know, who knows. So at this point, I hope you guys can see why this is so frustrating to me. I feel like we should have been given more clarification for a fight like this, where there are so many different ways you could look at things. You know, it might have made things a little more obvious in terms of outcome if they did that, but as a predictor, as, you know, someone who likes to make predictions as quick as I can, you know, it does kind of piss me off a little bit, because if I don't think that I have a decent chance of getting it correct for decent enough reasons, then why am I even predicting this? Why am I bothering? You know, it just becomes a 50-50 guess at this point if I don't even really know what I'm looking at, you know? Because these videos are more about predicting what Death Battle is going to say rather than giving my own opinions, because it's a Death Battle prediction. And they could not have made it more difficult for this fight, and part of that almost feels like it was done purposely, so I really don't like that. Again, if Death Battle sticks with the single G1 continuity for Megatron and that's it, even though I'm like 100% sure that's not what they're gonna do, then I think Frieza completely destroys him. If they give Megatron his best capabilities in literally anything and everything that has G1 on it, like the golden form, for instance, then I think Megatron would destroy Frieza. However, I already talked about why I'm not 100% sold that they will be including everything G1 related, or even that form specifically, you know, for reasons I already mentioned. If they mainly focus on the IDW comics and closely tied media, like if that's their main focus for this fight, then I think it becomes very debatable, because Frieza would probably still be able to destroy a lot more universes than Megatron and therefore be more durable as well, but Megatron would still have a lot more combat experience and he would still have antimatter manipulation, which could finish off Frieza pretty quickly if given the right opportunity. There are also a lot of insane processing speed feats that exist in Transformers, so if Death Battle attributes anything like that to Megatron, he could pull off the win. However, I could see them just as easily giving the speed advantage to Frieza based on, you know, some of the scaling they've done before, and by that logic, I think Frieza would win, so it's hard. I really have no idea what else to say. We all know Death Battle is just going to say something completely different from anything I said in this video and judge it that way, so you know, I hate this so much. So if I really had to pick one character, like if I just had to get this out of the way, pick one character based on what I know, what I expect from Death Battle, and just my own gut feeling, I'm gonna go with Frieza. And I'm gonna be wrong, I know, but you know, I just want this to be over with. I want to be free from this curse. And I just feel like Frieza's the slightly safer option based on what I expect Death Battle to do. But I know that that could completely bite me in the ass so quickly. I am well aware. You know, I just want to be done with the stress of all this and be able to enjoy this episode. You know, I just want that to be my main priority. So there you go. I gave you my answer. I am not confident in it whatsoever, but now I'm done. Please subscribe because I am in such emotional distress. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Thank you all so much for watching. I know this was not a normal prediction, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway for what it was. And yeah, I hope you guys are excited for this episode anyway. But that's it for me. I will see all of you guys in the next video. Peace out.